Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, MacPack. It's great to be back with you for another exciting episode of On the Move. I, of course, am your host, Mac Worley III. And first and foremost, I would just like to thank you so much for tuning in. I know you have a lot of choices out there in listener land, so I really do appreciate you taking the time to let me bend your ear. Today's episode is titled, The Russians Are Coming? ? And this is episode 161 of On the Move with Mac Worley. Today's featured topics, we're going to be talking about the 5 major takeaways that we're going to be getting from Comey's testimony that we just heard. I want to also discuss something that I think has been kind of put on the back burner here. So, what was Russia trying to accomplish by leaking stolen emails? Were they successful? And what was the aftermath of that? Additionally, on the way out of the show today, I want to leave you with some thoughts from Milton Friedman on the 2 major enemies of a free society. I'll comment on that as well. And I would love to hear from you, MacPack. Please feel free to join today's conversation. The number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that is 360-450-5625. I'm going to be joined by my good friend Chris Cruz of the Morning Blaze. He's going to join us as a special guest. So I'm really looking forward to pick his brain on, first of all, just how he feels that everything is right now, what his major concerns are at this moment, and I want to know what he has to say about this Russia investigation. And anyway, so I hope you all had a good week since the last time we talked. And by the way, if you haven't realized, this is a Monday. And we don't normally do shows on Monday. So what's this about? Why are we changing the show? What's up with this? What's going on? Well, I told you about this not too long ago. I warned you. So you have fair warning. Consider yourself notified. The show is now changing to a 1-hour show 3 times a week. So we're going to broadcast on Monday. Wednesday's kind of shaky. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull this off every Wednesday, but I'm going to try. And also on Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to try my best to get these Wednesday shows out, but I'm not positive if I'm going to be able to pull that off or not. So bear with me, at least for a little while here. And first of all, I really do appreciate the feedback I heard from you guys when I came up with these suggestions. You guys appeared to like that. And I definitely understand why, a 3-hour show once a week. First of all, it's difficult to do on our end. There's more prep involved in filling 3 hours of airtime. But more importantly, I feel like I'm able to stay on top of the news cycle and check in more often with you guys, have more interactions throughout the week with you guys, and that's really what this is about. I want to have a conversation with you guys rather than a monologue. So, anyway, so I hope you guys had a good week. I have actually had a really crazy week this week. We ended up getting a new cat this week, but it wasn't really part of the plan. That wasn't how I had envisioned my week going, I'll tell you. So my wife, she comes up to me and she says, "Hey, I turned on my car this morning when I went to go to work, and I heard a loud banging several times, like bang, 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 bang." So she says she cut off her engine, and then all of a sudden a cat came running out from underneath her car, and she didn't know what happened. She couldn't get a hold of the cat. The cat boogied. It was gone, and then she backs out and she sees a bunch of fur in the parking space that her car was there. And my wife loves animals, people. She's crazy about animals. So, I'm sure she's driving to work with tears and she didn't know what to do. The cat was out of sight. She couldn't find it. Cat probably wasn't in a hurry to come back to the same place that it was just messed up at. So, anyway, she goes to work, and then the next night, this is like 24 hours later, I'm outside, I hear the cat, I come in, I say, "Hey, there's a cat outside," and my wife and we go out there, and we see it's the same cat, and it's, meowing at it, it's meowing back at me, and eventually it comes back over to us, and we see it's the same cat, and the reason why we know this is because it has this huge gash down the side of its rib cage, and it's missing a bunch of fur. So apparently this this cat was sleeping inside my wife's engine. When she turned it on, it must have got caught on the serpentine belt or one of those belts in there, and it ripped out a bunch of fur. So anyway, so we feel kind of obligated since we've accidentally hurt this cat. So we take it into the vet, and we decide that this is going to be our pet now. We like the idea of rescuing a cat, and especially a cat in that situation. It was really malnourished looking, very skinny little cat, and now it's our cat, and its name is Piccolo. For all of you out there, Piccolo, we call it Pico. My wife calls it Pico de Gato. I thought that was pretty funny, and I'm calling it Pico Suave. So. But yeah, we just had a kind of a crazy week, taking it to the vet, making sure it's all taken care of, introducing it to our other animals around the house here and in the Mac Shack. So just trying to, get it accustomed to it. We have another cat and another dog, so everything seems to be going smooth now. So, but if you hear a bunch of hissing and meowing and things in the background, that might be a big cat fight or something I got to break up. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. Live radio, you never know how things will go. But I'm really excited to be back. I'm really excited to talk about the news of the day. One of the big things this week that happened was James Comey. He had a testimony that he was given in front of, I think it was Congress. I could be wrong. But he was given his testimony. And anyway, there's a few things that we can pull out of this testimony, and I think that we should illustrate and talk about for just a little bit, just to kind of hammer these points down. So we're going to do that when we come back from this break, and we should be joined by Chris Cruz in a moment. So we're going to cut to our first commercial break of the day, and you guys don't want to miss what's coming up next. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On The Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On The Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
And we're back. We're going to go ahead and move right into it. At this point, we're going to be joined by my good friend Chris Cruz. He's is your official title co-host of the Morning Blaze or producer?
I wish.
I
wish
right?
it was co-host. Yeah, it's more of a producer / everything else that I need to do, I'll do.
Jack of all trades. I hear you, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, first of all, it's been a little while since we've had a chance to chat. How you been, man? How are things over at the Blaze? I know that's a big.
Pretty good. Well, I'm calling you from here, Texas, Dallas, Texas. So it's really hot. I'm outside right now.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hot.
Yeah, you were originally from Florida, right? Or actually Puerto Rico and then Florida.
Puerto
right?
Rico, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Puerto Rico and then Florida. Yep.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you. based on just kind of your feel of what you've experienced since the election, how do you think the state of the country is right now? Are we more divided, less divided, about the same since the election? What do you think?
I think, oh man, that's a hard one, because that is something we talk a lot off air, especially with Glenn. As most of your listeners know, Glenn's a catastrophic person. But in my personal opinion, I think we are more divided, and it's so sad to see. And I don't know if that's because we're more connected than we were when Obama got elected in 2008. Because if you think about it, everything right now is connected. Everybody gets their news from social media. Nobody is watching other than, the old people in front of Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Everybody else is just getting the news from social media. And if you think about it, you're not really getting the news, and you don't even have a chance to digest something, because the news is literally changing like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think we are more divided in a sense that we're no longer doing what you do, what I do, is talking to people and trying to reach out to those that are not like us. And by that I mean the libertarian, conservative. And I think that is what's missing. And I think that is why we're divided. I don't think we're divided when it comes in political views, because we always had a Democratic side and a Republican side. I think we're more divided because we stopped listening and stopped talking to each other. And by each other, I don't mean like our little cliques. So I don't mean like the little Republican cliques or the Libertarian cliques. I mean like we stopped talking to each other as Americans. Now it's more like, oh, my guy lost, your guys won. I mean? My guy won, your girl lost, so I'm going to rub it right out in your face. And it's really sad to see.
So, one of the points that you made there, I think I would just like to take issue with just for one moment, because you said that we don't really get an opportunity to digest the news because of the news cycle. Everything moves so fast. One of the things in particular that I feel like has just been hanging around, that I feel like we've had all the time in the world to digest, is this Russian scandal. I mean, they've looked at it from every single aspect. Yeah, they're turning the lens to different areas of it, especially when they're proved wrong in one other area. But overall, I feel like this cloud has been looming over this White House ever since November, and even before. So my question is, do you think that now, with the way that the media is, are we able to fully understand topics in a better way than we had been before, in a more thorough way than we had been before, when we were just reliant on, for example, like Tom Brokaw, NBC Nightly News, to give us our daily information about what's happening? I feel like now it's easier for us to get the information. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is easier for us to get information. The president has instant access to us via the Twitter, and we've learned from Obama that Twitter can be a powerful thing. Obama got elected because he knew how to use social media. Trump got elected because he knew how to use social media, especially the Twitter. So you're right. We are able to find out the news much quicker. But at that sense, are we actually just, that middleman, was that middleman needed in order for us to digest what we just heard? For example, the Russia thing. Holy crap. That whole thing has been, like, I've gone to the point where I've just ignored it, because we have shown that right now, yes, there was shady stuff, but if you really think about it, and I love one of the things that Comey said. He said, if you're looking in an investigation, you're about to find some skeletons in the closet. You could find some skeletons in my closet, and I don't know, I can't speak for you, but we might find some skeletons in your closets as well. And by the way, there's a book out there, and I love this book. It was recommended by Glenn. It's that everybody commits about 3 felonies a day. So everybody is it's on the bad side. And the whole Russia thing is kind of out of control. Maxine Waters is just literally bagging on the pipes, impeach 45. And then the next day she says, I never called for impeachment. And the next day she's like, I'm going to make sure that all the connection with the Kremlin comes out. The whole Russia thing, it needs to drop. It's gotten to the point where if there is something there, nobody will care, because they've beaten that horse over and over and over. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes the Democrats have done. So let's say Trump did something with Russia, and Trump got this order from Putin. Let's say that happened. If those news broke out today, I don't think it would show much effect on Trump, because we've been talking about it for the last 6 to 8 months about the Russia and Kremlin and Trump. It's been beaten to death.
I'll definitely agree with you in that the kind of the digging and digging and digging, there's merit to that, I think, when it comes to journalism. I want journalists to continue to ask questions and to continue to dig and to find the truth. And when it comes to this investigation, I feel like a lot of this is hyped up media hype, because obviously it's the CNN machine, anti-Trump, anti-Republican. It's basically the Progressive Party platform. But when it comes to how it essentially seems like they're hunting for something, just anything. They're trying to, they are proven wrong about Russian connections time and time again. They keep being shut down. They say, well, maybe this is going on, let's investigate. And then they find out that they're wrong. Well, maybe this is going on, and they investigate, and they're wrong again. And this just keeps happening. They jump from one scandal to the next within the same scandal. This is a multifaceted Russian influencing or Russian quote-unquote hacking scandal, but it continues to basically be refuted at every step of the investigation. So I think you're right that the digging and digging and digging can lead to apathy, and I feel like that's probably what this will end up leading to. Even if they did find something, I think the people on the right are just going to be so tired of dealing with this that they're not going to care, and the people on the left, I think that they're still going to continue to keep ginning themselves up about it, and I think that will lead towards greater division between the parties and the people in America in general. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I agree 100%. And one of the things that I've realized of the Democratic Party, if they want to win and they want to get back in power, this is one thing they have to do. They have to stop and reevaluate yourself. You had Hillary Clinton come out and say, I will take responsibility, but it was the DNC's fault because they had bad data, and they gave me bad data, and they were bankrupt on data. And now you have another, I think it was Van Jones, coming out and said, oh, Hillary Clinton is wrong. It wasn't the DNC's fault. It was her fault. And then now you have the entire Democratic Party cursing. I don't know if you remember this, Mac. During the 2016 election, Trump decided to throw out some big boy words out there, like F them and the S-bomb. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats were like, oh my God, that is unprecedented. You do not talk like that. But now you have the DNC guy dropping S-bombs and F-bombs. You have an entire rally saying F the president. Then you have all these weird things out there happening where the Democrat is literally doing what they said that Donald Trump should not do. I think the Democratic Party needs to step back and say, hey, hold on, let's regroup, let's try to find a unison way of going forward, because also you got the Democratic Party saying, hey, you can only be a Democrat if you believe on abortion. Whoa! I know Democrats that are pro-life. My neighbor, she's a Democrat, and she is pro-life, pro-gun, and I told her, I was like, you're a Republican in heart. She said, no, I'm a Democrat. And when I told her about it, she was like, no, there's no way that was said. And I showed her the clip where the DNC chair said, you cannot be a Democrat if you do not believe in abortion. I was like, whoa, guys, you're literally alienating yourself inside of a group. You have to come back and say, let's regroup. If we're going to focus on Trump and try to discredit him in a good way, is pick one topic. The Russia thing has been dead. Pick something else. And by the way, there's many other things you could talk about the president that are legitimately wrong with his platform. There's the legitimate stuff where a Democratic can stand there and say, okay, this is wrong, and he should not be doing this.
Sorry, my computer's acting a little crazy. If you're hearing a bunch of beeps, I apologize. But I agree with what you're saying, though. As far as what I'm noticing as well on how they're treating each other, I don't know if they necessarily are a party for anything anymore. I think they've more or less turned into an opposition party that you have to be against Donald Trump. That is the first and primary thing that they require if you're going to be a part of the Democrat Party, is to be against Donald Trump and everything he stands for. Secondly, one of the things that I feel like within the Democrat Party too is they do a lot of virtue signaling, and part of that is if you disagree with them in any way, shape, or form, you're suddenly a bad person. It's a reflection of your moral character, and as a result, they're allowed to spit the most vile hatred towards you because you are a bad person and you must deserve it. Have you noticed this kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I realized also. You had Bernie Sanders come out and say, basically, if you're a Christian, you should not be in power. Now, I'm not saying that Christians are the good people in the world. There's a lot of atheists, Muslims, and other religions that are good people. Right now, it's become, if you are, for example, against gay marriage, oh, you're a bigot. No, that doesn't mean I'm a bigot. It just means I'm against that. I respect the person. It just means, or if you're pro-life, oh, you're a woman's hater. It has become like when you were in preschool or middle school and you're talking to like the bully, and all he says, "Ha ha, you're fat," he just walks away. That's what we become. We become idiots.
Yeah.
We become. Oh, one of the perfect example Docs always brings up is the movie Idiocracy. We become that. That's where we are right now. Where, if you think about it, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you. But you have Terry Crews as president, and he is in the middle of Congress doing a speech. It has all these guns, and he's just shooting up and being this Rambo-style kind of guy. And there's like a fight, and there's like an intro, or like a WWE intro as the person's coming in. We've gone there. We're literally stuck to the TV. And we're, oh my God, CNN said this about the president. Let me go tweet it out. And then ignore what is actually true. Now, I get it. I did not vote for the guy. The guy has done some weird things, and he is Donald Trump. Come on, who would have thought 2017 that Donald Trump is president? But the guy is president. Okay, give him the chance. I've gone back and said, you know what? I supported Ted Cruz. I voted for Ted Cruz. But now he is my president. I'm going to give him a clean slate. I'm going to give him the fair chance to be a president, a good guy, because so far I did not vote for the guy, but damn, the guy has done some good stuff. I gotta applaud him and be like, okay, that's some good stuff, and that's all we all need to be doing. That sit back and say, okay, he did this, and analyze what he did, and then either praise him or criticize him. But when you criticize him, don't criticize him because it's Donald Trump. Criticize him with, okay, so if he does this, this means this is going to happen, and we need this because of this. That's how you should criticize somebody. There's no more, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mac, but there's no more critical thinking. It's more like, oh my God, he made this, he's stupid. That's all it is.
It's becoming a bit of a culture of snap judgments about each other. Just because you've voiced your opinion about this one issue, people make an assumption about where you stand on that and about your moral character in relation to what they believe. And as a result, they begin shouting you down or something along those lines. And this is, by the way, this is permeating on both sides of the aisle right now. And to kind of go back to what you said when you first joined us, is that we don't listen. We've become a society where we're essentially now, we're waiting to hear what your moral cues are, what your social signaling is about your values, your value signaling, or forget the word, but you get the gist. We're waiting for that signal, and then once we determine where you stand, we're waiting for our turn to talk now, or not even waiting in some situations, and people just immediately start yelling, or it breaks into a non-civil discourse, which. I think that we learn so much just from talking to each other and trying to understand each other. But to pivot here, I want to, before we cut to a break here, I want to actually talk about the Comey testimony. I've got a quick clip here that I want to play, and then we're going to pause it a couple times here, and I want to hear what you have to say on this as well, on some of the aspects, these 5 important takeaways from the Comey testimony. So here's a clip. Here we go.
Allegations have been swirling in the press for the last several weeks. And today's your opportunity to set the record straight.
I understood that I served at the pleasure of the president. I understood that I could be fired by a president for any reason or for no reason at all. Then the explanations, the shifting explanations, they confused me because the president and I had had multiple conversations about my job, both before and after he took office. And he had repeatedly told me I was doing a great job and he hoped I would stay. So it confused me when I saw on television the president saying that he actually fired me because of the Russia investigation. The initial explanation that was offered publicly, that I was fired because of the decisions I had made during the election year. The administration then chose to defame me and, more importantly, the FBI.
Okay, so that was the first little accusation here. Comey claimed, and by the way, Chris, from what I understand, you can't hear the clip. Sorry, there's a problem with the audio. But,
no worry.
Basically, he was saying that the Trump administration defamed him. He said that he was confused when Trump had said
Okay, yeah, I know what clip you're talking about.
Okay.
If you want me to comment about this,
Go right ahead.
Come on, guys. We know who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is old-fashioned, old-school businessman. If you are in his good grace, you're the best, you're the tremendous, you are on top of the list. You go against Trump, you're going to become the worst of the worst, and you become trash, and you're no longer who you are in front of his eyes. I love when he said that, because, and the media freaked out about it. And I said, you guys forget who are we talking about? It is Donald Trump, where literally, if you're in his good side, you're the most tremendous person, you're the most awesome person, and there's no other one like you. We saw that towards the election. As he was attacking his other opponents, they were the most horrible person, blah, blah, blah. But once they dropped and they kissed his ring, they were the best person. It happened to Ben Carson. It happened to Mike Huckabee. It happened to Rick Santorum. It happened to Ted Cruz, especially Ted Cruz. It happened to Marco Rubio. It is who Donald Trump is. That is nothing new. It is all. And one of the things, I'm not excusing it, but we're dealing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is old school businessman, and this is who he is. We learned who he was during the election, and we know who he was, and it's nothing new. And by the way, Comey sounds like a little snowflake. Calm down.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a little bit upset about how he was fired. And you know what? I'll have to agree with you. I do think that Trump is really, really big on undying loyalty for Trump. Whether or not he's looked out for you or not, you are required to look out for him. He wants people who are going to jump in front of a bus for him. However, my problem with that kind of mentality, and I'm going to criticize Trump for that. First of all, it's kind of a scary thing to have your government leaders all be in lockstep. I want dissent within the government, and I want checks and balances, which is, it's not a good thing to have your Justice Department completely turning blind eyes just because they're looking out for somebody else. So, and I'm not saying that necessarily was what Trump was trying to accomplish or not, but what I will say is that this kind of culture, I think you don't end up getting when you demand 100% loyalty from everyone. I don't think that you actually get it. I think what you accomplish is creating an environment where people can't feel comfortable criticizing legitimate criticisms, and you end up with an environment in a group of people that are essentially just yes men, afraid to say no when they really ought to have. Would you agree with that?
I don't, because I don't see it as that, and maybe it's because it's me. But when somebody says, "Are you loyal?" I expect the way I'm reading that is, are you going to, in my opinion, loyalty means are you going to stand by me, but at the same time show respect for me. I'm not, because a good leader will not have you there and lie. If he's doing something wrong. It always goes back to my favorite quote, question everything with boldness, even the 16th of God. A good leader will want your loyalty, yes, but I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't see that he was like, okay, I want your loyalty, kiss my ring, and if I grab this hooker and do some blow with a Secret Service, you better put that on the down low. I don't think that's how I meant it, but then it's me. I just think he was more like, hey, do I have your commitment to me and this administration? And I think that's how I would gotten it. If Trump was sat in front of me and said, do I have your loyalty? That's how we gotten it. We're like, okay, yeah, I can stand by you, and of course I would defend the president and the United States.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess we'll agree to disagree. I think that Trump just doesn't want any kind of dissent, any kind of somebody who's going to speak out against anything that he's doing. I think Trump is going to immediately put that kind of person on an enemy list. If you're oppositional to Trump, I think you've made the ranks of his enemies. And the way he tries to chop you down is first in the media, second in the courts, and then however else he may try to. He's been known to go back and forth between the stick and the carrot approach. Sometimes he'll be mean and defame you, and other times he'll be nice and try to woo you over. And if that doesn't work, he'll be mean again. It just depends on what you're willing to do. But ultimately, I think when dealing with Trump, if you're not submissive to him in that way, then you're going to be trumped out of there, I think. But we're going to cut to a commercial break. Chris, can you stick with us through the break? Is that cool?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to finish up the rest of these 5 takeaways. This clip isn't very long. Then I want to talk about what Russia may have actually accomplished in actually doing this stolen emails and leaks and things like that, the quote-unquote Russian hacking. Were they successful? What's the aftermath? And then on the way out of the show, we're going to leave you guys with Milton Friedman, his thoughts on the 2 major enemies of a free society. You don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, okay. Apparently my commercials aren't loading here. Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to go to a commercial break because this thing isn't working. So hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it to work. This is hilarious. I love live radio, if you can't tell. Okay. Here we go. We're going to try this one more time. And this is always good fun when you can't get stuff to work when you try to get it. Isn't that right, Chris? Oh, looks like Chris isn't here either. All right. Well,
yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I muted myself. I didn't want to ruin your flow.
You're good, man. This is so live radio. You know how it is. Things happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll just go ahead and keep moving on unless I can get this thing to work here in the next few minutes. My computer is just not working. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip from the rest of Comey while I figure out what's going on with this thing here. Oh, actually, it looks like it might work. Here we go. We'll try it one more time after I close out of some windows. And here we go.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
And we're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us at the break. Okay, at this time, we're going to be joined by Chris Cruz of the Morning Blaze. By the way, I was sent a message here from Mark on Twitter, TMB listener, hashtag 666. He says, caution at On The Move Show, you're talking with the hashtag, or the at real Chris Cruz, because there's a at fake Chris Cruz trolling around. Ask him about his pedis. What is a pedis, Chris?
Okay, so ever since I decided to join the Morning Blaze as a producer, I've gained a lot of trolls, and I have about 6 to 10 accounts that are trying to be me. I am just a nobody when it comes to anything. So there's about 10 people that are trying to be me out. There's a fake Chris Cruz, there's a fall Chris Cruz, there's a Chris Cruz something. Actually, and today, I just tweeted back at him. I just found another one. There's a Senator Chris Cruz because, as you all know, Puerto Rico over the weekend voted yes to become a state, and decided to be a state. And so now there's a Senator Chris Cruz going out there, and they're making fun of me. So there's a lot of, and then about the petties, it's Manny's and petties. So over the course of the 6 months I've been working here, I've been doing not just producing, I've been doing like co-hosting and just input. Doc will ask me some opinions, and I will talk about myself. But it's gotten to the point where we're talking about my life. Like I'm talking about like my dating life, what I do after work. So I decided to start sharing some of my stories, and some people found out that I love to get manicures and pedicures. Some people find out that I love to get my eyebrows waxed, facials, and do all this kind of, what they say, girly stuff. And it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I imagine the commentary on that is probably pretty humorous. So
yes,
my friends and I, back when I was in the military, we once went out to it's like a... It's Mython City, but it was totally on the up and up. Like it was a massage place, you know, and we all went to actually get a massage, and we called this place, or we called what we were doing was a gayo, G-A-O, a gayo. It's a guy's afternoon out. We were having a gayo, so I can relate. So, you know, sometimes it's it's cool to get pampered, I guess, man, and no judgments on my end. But let me actually, I want to look at this at fake Chris Cruz. He says hashtag fried banana. What's the fried banana about?
Okay, so I'm loving this. Just keep it coming.
Okay.
So fried banana. Doc, myself, and Cal, which he is the executive producer of the show. We left it to the audience to give us nicknames. So I became fried banana, because I love bananas and plantains, and I'm from Puerto Rico, and that's one of the things that we eat. And then Doc Thompson became Plugs, because we found out that Doc has hair plugs. He got them a long time ago. And then Cal, he got Jiggly Butt, because he has a jiggly butt.
Jiggly butt, yeah, it's self-explanatory, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's
and you can find more of this every morning from 6 to 9 at the blazeradio.com/radio. And we literally talk about this almost every other day.
Okay, all right. Well, guys, please check them out. Like I said, I've actually been checking you guys out as well. I'm a loyal listener, and I just couldn't wait to hear you talk about the fried banana. So let's go ahead and get back to Comey here. I want to play the rest of this clip for you. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, but I'll comment on what this next one here. Comey is calling out former Attorney General Loretta Lynch. So here's a clip on that. Here we go.
Was your decision influenced by the Attorney General's tarmac meeting with the former President Bill Clinton?
Yes, in a ultimately conclusive way. That was the thing that capped it for me, that I had to do something separately to protect the credibility of the investigation. At one point, the Attorney General had directed me not to call it an investigation, but instead to call it a matter.
So, Chris, your thoughts on that? How Loretta Lynch told him not to call the investigation an investigation, he was to call it a matter. What do you think about that?
We're in a world where words matter, and people are literally. It's scary because we also knew that Loretta Lynch met at the tarmac or somewhere in the plane. We knew that, and we knew there was something fishy about this whole thing. It just adds more. I really don't know what to say, because if there's no definite proof where there's a smoking gun, sadly we just have to take the word. And right now, no government entity, and this includes Trump to Obama administration, there is, in my opinion, there's no government entity that is good with American people. The Department of Veterans is a failed. The FBI has been a completely failed. The military, in my opinion, has been completely failed. Anything that has to do with government is a complete failure. So I don't understand. The people just need to literally, and one of the reasons I don't understand is start scaling back in government, and you will not have this problem. And one of the things that I understood what people said is, like, you're going to have to literally drain the swamp. And it's something that I don't like using. But you do. Loretta Lynch has been there forever. The guy who was the attorney general that just got hired by California in order to sue Trump, he was a failure as well. The one that did Fast and the Furious, he was a failure too. So, like, you got all these things happening. It's just people need to just literally, in the government, they just need to stop and think. All you have to do is think. Because if I would have done that, if I was in that position, and I would have done that, I'd be like, wait a minute. The American people are woke, as the millennials call it. They're woke right now. And they're going to take this as a bad thing. And guess what? We did take it as a bad thing, because we really don't know what happened in there. I think she did try to influence the same way. I see this as the same way of Trump saying, do I have your loyalty?
Yeah, I can see similarities, but this decision, and by the way, for those of you out there who don't know, Loretta Lynch, she met on a tarmac with Bill Clinton while his wife, Hillary Clinton, was under an FBI investigation. And we were told that they essentially spoke about golf and grandchildren, if I'm remembering correctly.
Family stuff. Yeah,
which is odd, especially considering they had a private meeting and there was no press or anything, and we don't know exactly what was said while there was an actual investigation. Or, if you take Loretta Lynch's words for it, a matter being investigated. So. It's shady enough to where it seems like Comey, especially being told by Lynch, do not use the word investigation, call it a matter. It seems like that prompted him to do his own kind of independent investigation, which was why I think he opened up the investigation again, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. But you said something actually kind of funny off topic. You said that the American people are woke as far as what the millennials are saying. Do you think that we're woke on? I think a lot of us are not awake. I think there's a lot of people that are just kind of apathetic and out of it right now.
I think we are to a point where when I say woke, I meant it not like, oh my God, I know what I'm doing. I think people are woke and sensitive to topics like this. Like, oh my God, Comey's about to testify. Let me go turn on the news and watch it. And people are just basically like talking about the headlines, but they're not digesting. That's the woke we're on. Where, oh my God, Hillary Clinton is back in the spotlight and she's about to say something at the commencement speech somewhere. Or, oh my God, Trump is overseas and he's talking trash about Muslims. And that's kind of woke. And people just tune in for whatever it is, and then they tune out. They're not really woke, because if you were really woke, you'd be like, hold on, wait a minute, big government sucks, and we need to scale it back, because and one of the things I don't understand, I can't think of the exact quote, because somebody wrote it on my board this morning, is Democrats, they say, oh, the government, we need more government, but then at the same time, if you really believe that, then shouldn't everybody be part of the government? And according to the Democrats, not everybody's qualified to be in the government. So it kind of contradicts what they want and they say is really weird. If you're a Democrat, you're just freaking weird. I'm sorry.
So, according to, I'm going to blow through the rest of these points here. There was one of the major 5 points that we can take from this. There was no obstruction of justice under the requirements of applicable statute, which is 18 U.S. Code 1503. According to Comey testimony as well, the president was never under investigation in the Russia probe. This is what he testified as well. There was no hacking of or other interference with voting, ballot counting, and administrative processes of the election. There was also no evidence of any collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian officials. Moreover, as we already covered, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch ordered Comey to parrot the language of the Clinton campaign regarding the FBI's investigation into the mishandling of classified materials. So, with all of these, it does kind of appear, based on this testimony, that this Russia investigation narrative that the left is pushing right now is starting to fall apart. And personally, I'm actually a fan of finding out the truth. I want to find out the truth, but I don't want us to just continue to go on this headhunting that it appears that we're trying to do here, and especially the way it's being portrayed in the media, which leads us to our next topic, is what was Russia trying to accomplish by leaking the stolen emails? Chris, I'll let you take the first bite of this apple if you want.
Why do I think Russia leaked the emails? I don't know, because it was really interesting, WikiLeaks, when they did all that stuff. I think they were. I really do not know, because I haven't thought about this question. Because if I put it on the maybe they did not want Hillary Clinton to win, they wanted Trump to win. Okay, that seems kind of interesting, but I don't see what the bigger goal was, other than maybe to show that she's a hypocrite. Maybe she pissed off the wrong people. I really don't think it was something where Russia was like, hey, we want President Trump to be the next president. Let's do this. Because all I think too, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We do know that Clinton was a shady person, and the Clinton family and the Clinton Foundation are shady things. And we know that they accepted money for favors. And if you haven't read about it, go get a book called Clinton Cash. It is really interesting to read. But at the same time, it's like, I don't understand, why would Russia even care about us?
So, let me give you my thoughts on this. And this is, this to me, it seems like a lot of this wasn't necessarily what their entire plan was. I think that they've been wildly successful, more wildly successful than they could have ever hoped for in what has actually been the aftermath of this. But I think, in essence, what they wanted to do was to promote essentially a nationalist-style candidate, nationalism in America. I think that Trump represented that, so they put their money behind him, so to speak. I don't think that they thought that they had a huge ability to change the influence of the election, but I think ultimately what the reason for the leaked emails was to sow chaos and seeds of distrust in our government. I think that they have been wildly successful in that. People now are on both sides. We're turning our guns at each other now, when really the real people who are actually causing chaos here in our country are the Russians. And the Russians' ultimate goal here, in my opinion, and just based off my research on Putin, is to increase their might, to put the old Soviet Union back together again. So how do they accomplish that? The first thing is they have to take America down a peg or two. And the best way to do that is to firstly weaken our alliances. Backing a nationalist is going to weaken our alliances like NATO and things like that. So when those are weakened, it creates a power vacuum, and Russia is hoping that they can fill that power vacuum. I think right now people are so distrustful, especially on the left. I mean, we have people threatening to bomb the White House. We're talking about Madonna saying in public that she's been thinking a lot about bombing the White House.
Well, not only her, we had Riley.
Griffin.
No, not her either. Reality Winner, the NSA contract leaker. Yeah. She said we should bomb the White House.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got people actually calling themselves the resistance, as in they're some kind of revolutionary guard that is fighting a tyrannical government. And look, I'll be the first to admit that our government does things that violates our rights, and when it does, we ought to step up and say no to it. But Trump hasn't done those things yet. I'm all about standing up and speaking out, but you got to wait until you see what the guy does. This is why, I agree with what you said earlier. We got to give the guy a chance. I'm willing to give him a chance. I didn't vote for him. I'm not particularly fond of him, and I'll continue to call him out when he does bad things, but I'll also send him praise when he does good things.
I have a question for you, though.
Go for it.
You said he hasn't done anything yet. So you think in the future he's going to do something like this?
It's impossible to predict the future. I have no ability to predict the future with certainty. So I'm just leaving. It's possible. I don't know what Trump's going to do. I don't know if suddenly Trump is going to turn into the law and order candidate that he claims, especially if we're faced with a lot of civil unrest. So I don't know what Trump's reaction to that will be. He's already said that he's going to be the law and order candidate. If he comes out and has a heavy hand and starts violating people's rights, if we end up seeing martial law in the future or something like that, then I'm going to have a problem with it. And I'm going to speak out because those things come hand in hand with constitutional violations. So I personally will have an issue with that, and I'll speak out with it when it comes. And especially, with his war on drugs, he's pro-war on drugs. I'm against it. I speak out for that. When it comes to, big government surveillance, I have a feeling that Trump is pro-big government surveillance, and I'm not. I think that we happen to have a right to privacy. So these are things that I'll speak out against. But so far, he hasn't actually done anything that would warrant me speaking out against him in that way, and I certainly don't think it warrants a resistance movement in our country against Donald Trump, and it definitely doesn't justify people like Kathy Griffin to have a bloody head hanging in effigy and trying to call it some kind of social commentary. Can you all imagine? I just want you to imagine for a moment what it would be like, what kind of crap storm would be surrounding that more than it is now if somebody on the right did that to Obama. I mean, it would be out of this world. What do you think, Chris?
No. One of the things that's really interesting, because twice today I've gotten the question is, what happens if a disaster comes? Because every president gets tested. We all know that. George Bush was tested. Ronald Reagan was tested. Obama was tested. What is it going to be?
I heard that Bill Clinton got tested, but it was in some kind of free clinic of some sort. He turned out negative. Don't worry.
I would check the cloak or the closet. But one is really interesting. Next week on the Morning Blaze, I'm going to have a guy by the name Noah Rothman. He thinks he knows what the disaster that is coming, and he says we're not ready. And this is his commentary. It's really interesting. It's like it just hit me today because somebody else asked me at work. He's like, "Hey, what is going to be that President Trump is going to be tested on?" And if you look at the news, we're heading down a road where ISIS is killing everybody that they meet. They're killing their own. By the way, if you guys haven't heard, over the weekend, ISIS killed 19 Yazidi girls, little girls, because they would not have sex with them. 19 of them. They killed them by burning them alive, just like they did the Jordanian pilot. Okay, then you have economic fall, where the economic is going to fall because we have this big bubble that's about to burst. Then we have the government, where we no longer trust the government, and we no longer trust the media. And right now we're literally in each other's throat. We got Antifa on the rise, we got the resistance on the rise, and the mega Trump supporters are not helping this because they're the guys that are out there when Antifa and the other people protest, they're right there on the face. Then you got division between, do you support gay or do you not support gay? Oh, you're a bigot. Then you have the war on Christianity, where nobody can be a Christian and be in power because you become a bigot. Something's going to happen, and one of those things is going to test not only Trump, but it's going to test the country. Because if you remember, you probably do because you're almost the same age, is 9/11. One of the reasons we were able to overcome 9/11 is because on 9/12, we came back and we said, wait a minute, we're Americans. And we all remember the famous speech George Bush did with the speaker, and he says, an amazing speech. I love that speech. And the reason we're here today is because on 9/12, everybody looked back and said, oh my God, America, and we're all Americans, and we're all one. Right now, if we get an attack like that, do you think we're going to come together like we did on 9/12? I don't think so. Because one side is going to blame, oh, it's Donald Trump's fault. The other side is going to say, oh no, it's the resistance fault because they created this divide, and we're just going to go at each other's throat. It's going to be civil war.
So, I want to ask here, as far as kind of going back to our topic here, I'm just curious, do you think that if the Russians were trying to reduce American might with this hacking of the election, do you think that they were successful in creating basically a situation where America is going to be looking towards more nationalism? They've sowed seeds of distrust and almost revolution here through this essential resistance movement. And would you say that their attempts here have been largely successful at that?
I don't think it was just only Russia's. I think you have people like the resistance before, the Bernie Sanders supporters, because we've seen it now with the Russia thing. It was more of a stamp of like, yeah, the government is lying to you, or powers like the Hillary Clinton power are lying to you. I think what Russia just added to the issue, I don't think it was Russia's only doing. It was our doing as well.
See, for me, I tend to go by the motto of, don't do what your enemies want you to do. I try not to do the work for them. And I just see this, that the left is jumping onto this Russia narrative, and they continue to push it. And I think this is exactly what the Russians want. I think they've got way more success than they could have ever hoped for, because they're being aided by the left in this situation to promote the fact that Russia was involved in this election, which it seems like, by the way, based on the Comey testimony, everybody on all sides now appears to agree that Russia did something and that it didn't influence the voting machines in the actual election systems. So the issue now is the fact that we keep promoting it. It's almost like remember Hands Up, Don't Shoot, where
oh my God, that was so stupid.
That narrative goes around. Now everybody thinks that the Officer Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown when he was, on his knees, hands up in the air, saying "Don't shoot," which is not the case. It's wildly different from the facts of what actually happened. How he was on his way to charge him, football style tackle. The guy's much bigger than Officer Darren Wilson, and that narrative doesn't get out. Now all people are hearing is Russia hacked the election, and they don't even know that it had nothing to do with the election systems and that it wasn't the actual election. All they did was they phished, didn't even hack. It was such poor security. They phished the emails by asking for a password, and they were given the password. So then they got access to the emails and leaked them. And in my opinion, I think they were more successful in the aftermath. We're so divided now, more divided than ever amongst the two sides of the aisle, because one side is screaming, is screaming bloody murder, saying Russia, 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 and the other side saying, well, there's no evidence over here, but we're not listening, things aren't talking. And I think there's an area in the middle here where we can meet, and that area is basically, hey, let's find out what's going on. Let's not, speak about it until we know what's going on. Let's not jump to any wild conclusions here. Let's see what the facts bear out. But it doesn't seem like the left is ready for that. And in the aftermath of this, I think the Russians got more than they could have ever hoped for. What do you think?
No, I agree to this point. I think, like I said, we were going to get here no matter what. We were going to get to the division no matter what. It's just Russia played a role on it to the point where they added more distrust in the government. Oh, because we knew Hillary was shady. We knew that Clinton was shady. It just now it's like, wait a minute, they were really shady. And we knew the DNC did not want Bernie Sanders to be the candidate because Hillary somehow, somewhere, because she has a vagina, she earned the presidency. We knew there was something in there.
You have evidence to suggest that Hillary Clinton has a vagina?
I do not have evidence that she has a vagina.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I do have some thought that she might have a vagina, because somehow the other creature Chelsea Clinton came into this world. And that is really interesting. But
so let me ask you, in the end here, after it's all said and done, do you think that right now the Russian prestige? Do you think it's Russia appears more powerful since the election, or less powerful, or the same since the election, based on what's happened and how often they're mentioned in the news and everything? Do you think? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you this and call you out there, buddy. But the 1970s called and they won their foreign policy back. Oh. If you all remember, Mitt Romney did not like the guy, did not understand him at all, But one of the biggest things that Mitt Romney ran, and everybody made fun of him, was that Russia was a big threat. Everybody was like, hey, the 1960s or 70s, whatever it was called. Even Obama said it during the debate. Ha ha ha. I think Russia is is dangerous. You got a guy, Putin, where you cannot even call him gay or do anything of a picture of him, assuming that he's gay, because you'll go to jail. He doesn't let gay people drive. And by the way, that is completely crazy that you won't do that for people that just live a different life. But anyways, I think Russia is a enemy of the United States. But right now, and the Trump administration, what they need to do is simply whatever communication, if they have any communication, cut those communication ties with Russia, and not just sweep it under the rug. Come clean about it. And I think whoever comes from the government and be as transparent as they can, just like Obama promised during his presidency. They said, we're going to be the best and most transparent administration in history, and he wasn't. I think what needs to happen now is say, okay, yes, Russia is a threat, and this is what's going on. This is literally what we know. This is why they're a threat, and we need to put them and make people at ease on both sides. I don't know how you do that, but somebody needs to come out and put both sides at ease, and if done correctly, that will start patching and will kind of help the administration. Because right now, we got Obama's son-in-law, connection with Russia, and the Flynn connection with Russia, and Comey did not help because he said something else about Russia. And then I think this week Jeff Sessions is going to talk and give a testimony to Congress about this whole mess. And I just, honestly, we just need a week away from Russia and try to regroup and figure our own things. But I do think Russia is a threat. I just don't know what can we do at this point other than just stop talking about it, let it breathe for a little, and then regroup and come back to it. Because right now it's more of like, we're going to get something, we're going to find the smoking gun, and we're going to get him impeached. By the way, I don't think, in my opinion, again, there's no more smoking guns. Do you think there's another smoking gun, Mac?
Personally, I have no idea. There could be anything, but based on what I keep seeing over and over and over again, and it doesn't seem to matter how many times this comes out, there is no evidence of any collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian officials.
By the way, I love that word. Collusion.
Yes,
I love that word.
Yeah, it's so rare I get to use it in a sentence. But now, based on this Russian investigation, I get to use it all the time. I'm colluding this, including that, I'm colluding all over the place. I got to get this collusion off my shoes. I got so much around here. So
it's the new Confefe.
Yeah, yes, Confefe. That took Twitter by storm as well. So, I'll just say, I think that since all of this has been going on, one thing I remember from my time in the Air Force, we used to always be told perception is reality. What people perceive is what is actually going on in their minds. It may not actually be what's happening, but people are perceiving it to be, therefore it is their reality. And what's happening now, I see, the perception is that Russia is always in the news. Russia's a big bad guy. I think Russian prestige since the election, since this has been in the news nonstop, has been going up and up. And I agree that we need to stop talking about it, but we do need to continue to investigate it and not speculate. I don't want to just assume that Trump did it, and I don't want to assume he didn't either. He might have done something. His campaign might have done something he might not have known about. They might have done something and they just protected him from knowing about it, and he kind of knew a little bit about it. I don't know. I want to know what happened. I think an investigation should be happening, but it shouldn't be this political witch hunt that I am seeing and have been seeing since November. But that's where I stand on it. Chris, I really do appreciate you tuning into or calling in and joining me as a guest today, man. Where can people go listen to you again? And I know you're big on social media, so send out all your social media stuff.
All right, so Twitter is my main feed. You can find me at twitter.com/@RealChrisCruz, KrisCruz. I had to change it. Long story. And if you want to know the long story, you can listen to Doc Thompson, the show that I help produce at theblaze.com/radio. And most of my, because it's really interesting, I do writing, but under Doc Thompson. So if you visit theblaze.com/DOC, you can see some of my writings in there.
Like under Doc Thompson in shade, he's like really tall, right? It must be easier.
Yeah, he is really tall. He's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, well, guys, please check out Chris. Chris, you're awesome. Thanks so much for joining me, man. I love having you on the show, and I'm fascinated by your opinions because you have some really good ones. So thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
Make sure you isolate that audio. Send it to me. So I could send it to my boss, man, Glenn, and I could get some kind of raise in here.
Oh, man, if it was up to me, you would. So.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right.
And thank you for your audience.
All right. Thank you so much, man. You take care. All right, folks, we're going to cut to our last commercial break of the day. We're going a little bit over, but I wanted to play this clip from Milton Friedman. He's a old school economist. I've learned a lot from this guy, just listening to his audio, his speeches that he's given across college campuses. This is back in the day, obviously, because it's a grainy picture. I can't really place the year this was taken. It's not recent, and from what I understand, Milton Friedman has since passed. So, but we're going to listen to this, and then I'll give a few comments, and then we'll wrap up the show. I really do appreciate you all sticking with us. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. We'll be right back.
Have you visited the On the Move with Mac Worley store? We've got amazing original design t-shirts, hoodies, cell phone cases, and coffee mugs for sale at OnTheMoveShow.com. Just click the shop link on our homepage. You won't want to miss out on the iHeart Open Carry and Bare Arms t-shirts for only $20 plus shipping. Again, just go to OnTheMoveShow.com and click the shop link on our homepage. Your purchases will help make the On the Move show bigger and better. We appreciate your support. Are you an activist who needs affordable flyers or brochures for passing out literature? Or a political candidate who's looking for business cards, logo designs, yard signs, or vehicle decals? Email me, Latasha Worley, for all your graphic design needs at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com. And don't forget to mention On the Move to get a 10% discount on all graphic design services.
This is Dan Sandini of DaylightDisinfectant.com, citizen journalist, friend of the late Andrew Breitbart, and cohort of James O'Keefe. I listen to On the Move with Mac Worley because the only time he's wrong is when he disagrees with me.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
We're back. All right, so I just kind of want to play this clip.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that Al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back, because the Cold War has been over for 20 years. But Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s.
So he really hit that one on the head, didn't he, everyone? The 1980s are calling and want their foreign policy back. This coming from the man who called ISIS the JV squad. So there's that. But I digress. We're going to go ahead and play this clip from Milton Friedman. And this is Milton Friedman on the two major enemies of a free society. Here we go.
So there are some reasons for optimism. We are no longer an isolated remnant. We now have much more support among a much larger group of the population at large. In fact, I think that the most effective way one could possibly move toward greater freedom in the United States toward a smaller role of government would be if we could only have a more democratic society. I don't mean a capital D, I mean a small d. That is, I mean if we could have referenda. The public at large in its referenda has always shown itself, has almost always shown itself to be more libertarian in its views than have their elected representatives. But nonetheless, we are still fighting against the odds. Against the businessmen, the business community, who are all in favor of freedom for everybody else, but all want special treatment for themselves. They're all special cases. The most extreme example I came across recently was a letter I received from some head of a bee association, BEE, telling me about how he really agreed with me on almost everything except, and especially on free trade, except for one exception. And that was that we had to have a national policy of protecting bees because of the external benefits they conferred by pollinating, that's the word I want, by pollinating the fruits. He had never read a famous article by Steve Chung on how that has become a private industry in which there are private beekeepers who go around with bees and rent out their use to pollinate the fruit crops. So you don't need, there are no external effects at all. At any rate, he's a very obvious example, but in general I have always said that the two major enemies of a free society are the business community on the one hand and the intellectuals on the other. For what look like opposite reasons. Every businessman is in favor of freedom for everyone else, but wants special privileges for himself. Every academic is in favor of freedom for himself, but wants to control everybody else. Now, I exaggerate when I say every academic, and I don't really mean that. But, and it is less true today than it was 30 or 40 years ago, but certainly over time, it is the intellectual community that has provided the greatest support, the greatest rationalization for the growth and extension of government. But more important than either, the business community or the intellectual community, in my opinion, is the economic inertia, a simple inertia that derives from the interest we all have in retaining our own special privileges. We all, every one of us, knows that what's good for us is good for the country. That's the easiest thing in the world to persuade yourself of. And nobody is a hypocrite when he does it. He really believes it. That gentleman who wrote me about bees, I'm sure he was sincere. He believed what he was saying. He wasn't just deliberately falsified. The automobile people, when they go around and say they need government assistance to keep from going out of business, they don't, and that's in the best interest of the country. They believe what they're saying. But nonetheless, I think that the greatest danger comes from those of us, all of us, who seek to protect whatever benefits we've managed to get. We're always willing to cut other people's government programs while we retain our own. To come close to home, I gather there are a lot of students in this room. How often have you observed students going around protesting about what I think is the most disgraceful government spending program in existence, namely government subsidies to higher education? There is no program in the United States which so clearly imposes burdens on low-income people to benefit high-income people. None whatsoever. And yet, how many students do you have going around saying it's a bad thing for the country to have government devote so much money to higher education? Now, don't misunderstand me. If there is a government program of benefits or of loans, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of it. You're a citizen of a country. If that country votes a law you disagree with, it's not in any way wrong or immoral to take advantage of that law. Provided it doesn't keep you from trying to get the law repealed. So I think the prospects for the future of a free society can be bright, but only if we continue to try to spread our ideas, but most importantly of all, to persuade ourselves, more importantly than anyone else, to be consistent with the beliefs we profess. When you are tempted, every time you are tempted to blame somebody else for the growth of government or the decline in the freedom, first look in the mirror and see where the real fault lies. Thank you.
So that was Milton Friedman talking about his two major enemies of a free society, what his thoughts are on it. And the final message there I thought was interesting. You know, talk about and spread our philosophy, essentially, and then be consistent with what we espouse to believe. And this is something that I've harped on here on this show for quite a while. Understand your beliefs. The purpose of this show is to get people to speak out for civil rights, for individual liberty. This speech that he gave, this was a message of personal responsibility and looking towards oneself rather than towards the government to solve our problems. It's important to note that when the government does solve, quote-unquote, solves, I'm using air quotes here, people, when they solve problems, it creates more problems, typically, and more than likely, when it does try to solve problems, it usually violates people's rights in the process, usually in the form of redistribution of wealth or taxation or something along those lines, but sometimes in outright violations of your privacy. And the reason why I brought this video up today is because we're talking about the Russian threat, and ISIS and terrorism, and especially on the heels of Ramadan, when there were so many terror attacks that were happening, how they had perverted that holiday to essentially, go on jihad throughout that month. It's so easy for us to turn to the government to solve all of our problems. And in some instances, we need to in order to get some big things done, all right, as far as like the military and things along those lines, defending the homeland, those kind of things. But it's important that we are careful how we respond to foreign threats, because we need to understand that there are still major enemies in a free society, inside the society itself. And one of those are the government, of course. Then the two major enemies, like Milton Friedman we're talking about, which was the academics and the business people, everybody trying to carve out special favors for themselves. The government itself, though, is trying to get more power, and all governments try to grow. And it's very difficult to stop that from happening unless people are awake enough to say no. They understand their philosophy, understand what it means to be free, and they do look towards themselves rather than the government to be the solution to their problems. But that's our show for today. I certainly appreciate you all tuning in. I really appreciate you, MacPack. Thank you for so much for tuning in week after week, and we appreciate your continued support. Don't forget to check out our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. There, we got a shop there. Click the shop link. Buy stuff if you want it. Don't buy it if you don't. And we have our website, OnTheMoveShow.com, Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us over there, please. Don't forget to like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. And subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.